where we are. So I think this is probably going to be a better route for us to go. Good evening, everyone. The St. Mary's 25 tax digest has increased by 5.18%. Georgia law requires that a rollback rate be computed to offset any inflammatory increases in the digest, and the rollback rate for this year is computed at 5.205. The millage rate for 2024 was 5.439. So that's the same money at a different millage rate, for those that just make sure everybody understands. All right?
That's right.
Yay. This is the property taxes and the digest. You can see that the gross real property has increased. Even the gross property personal has increased. We've seen a little bit of a drop in our motor vehicles. Mobile homes has increased. We've seen an increase in timber. Heavy-duty equipment, still status quo. So our total digest is $1.147,412,213. But then you reduce that with the M&O, which is the exemptions, which, remember, we have 581, House Bill 581, and we also had the change to our senior exemption. We did see an increase in the exemptions, but we didn't see the amount that we were anticipating last year. But that brings our total digest to $1,052,374,330, which is a 5.18% increase in total digest. The value of 1 mil is $1,052,374. So
Can I stop you right there? And I want to ask a quick clarifying question, because that OCGA reading there, to offset in any inflationary increase in the digest. So how does new growth, new buildings, new property, is that also considered inflationary? Because it's not just properties going up because inflation, it's going up because it's been improved. Is that subtracted out at all, or is that just included in? And is that the way
it's included into that whole number? Now, we've got some numbers that we've seen on the actual growth,
right?
New construction, that sort of
I think
stuff.
that was around 51 million or something, but
It was the increase in the.
Turn that on.
I'm sorry.
Green.
I want green.
Let's close Charlie's fat finger. Just touch it. There you go.
The increase from inflationary growth, well, the increase from 24 to 25 digest was $51,855 and, wait a minute, $51,855,214. Of that, inflationary growth was at $45,234,000, which is like 4.30%, and the rest of that was at new growth. So that's where we are right now, but all of that is absorbed into that OCG.
Overall number.
for the purposes of this calculation and the way it's done across the state,
Yes.
that's all considered inflationary growth.
Yes, sir.
That is
We
correct.
can't, to get the same amount of revenue that we got last year, the millage rate would have to be decreased to that.
Rollback rate.
To the rollback rate, that's correct.
Okay.
You good?
Yes, sir.
Our next slide is basically giving you some options there if if you do have a desire. The rollback rate is at the bottom and it is in red, which means that that's flat. Basically, it's less than 1%, so it's considered flat according to OCGA. Our 2024 rate was 5.439. If we were to stay at that rate, that would be an increase of 4.93%, and so forth and so on, as you can kind of read the table. So that's that. This is a chart just of our digest over the years. You can see we've seen some substantial growth since 2020 in our digest. This is a millage rate history of the same time frame, and you can kind of see where we kind of held tight there for a few years, and we've kind of dropped a little bit along the way. And that's just this is a combination of the two, to where you can see the millage rate is in red and the digest is in blue. You can see our digest has increased and our millage rate has dropped. So, just as an example, with no change in assessed value, pardon me, with no change in assessed value, but keeping the millage rate exactly where it is today. Now remember, that is an increase. That's at 4% or whatever it was. You're looking at, and you haven't had an assessment of your home, you're going to be paying in the same thing you paid last year, okay? But if your assessed value changes, as an illustration, say it goes up by 10% and we keep the same millage, you're looking at an increase of $65.27 over a year's period, which equates to $5 and some change every month in cost increase on your property taxes. But that's just information we wanted to provide you. And that's kind of what we've got right now. We just kind of need to know which direction to go and give y'all an opportunity to discuss it.
I guess I'll kick this off. Just, conversations that we've had around the office, talking about different things. Of course, also in light of what's happened on the county level and the response to some of that, it makes you very leery about wanting to do anything that increases taxes at all. But one of the realities that we deal with is we kept the same millage rate. We adopted the rollback rate last year. And so we had the same amount of money to run the government this year as we had last year. And if we adopt the rollback rate again, that would be, the third year in a row that we're trying to operate the city on the exact same money. And we are all aware in our own personal households how everything costs more. Wages are up, materials are up. The cost of doing business as a city, has certainly increased. And for that reason, with the fact that we are taking on some things like the recreation and trying to make some improvements there, some of the quality of life type things, the improvements that we're making along the roadways to try to make our city look better and a place you can be proud to live in. I had kind of personally come to a thought of at least trying to maintain the millage rate that we had this year, along with the additional exemptions that folks have experienced from us passing the 581 earlier this year. And the fact that, we do have, it puts us very close at the rollback rate for uncollected taxes and other issues and other, income situations that can occur. It just doesn't leave us really any buffer at all. And it's very minimal there, less than $300,000 that would give us a little bit of wiggle room, I guess, to operate as we move forward with potential contingency. So that's kind of my personal feeling is, you know, I'm a property owner here too, and I pay taxes, and I don't appreciate, you know, that anymore. But I also look at my tax bill and I realize that the city tax component of my bill is a very small part compared to some of the other portions that we pay on our tax bill. And I know that we want to make improvements to things, and that we all want to see those improvements. And I think we're dedicated to making some of those. And I think we need a little bit of room to at least try to do that. So that's my 2 cents. I'll start it out there. Anybody from the dais want to speak? If not, we'll open it up to the public.
I'll say if we adopted to do the full rollback, let's just say we adopted the rollback rate, how much of a cash carry forward budget would we be operating under?
It would be the difference. Oh, crap. Oh. Sorry. The difference in the budgeted amount and the taxes levied, is that what you're asking?
Yes, ma'am.
It would be $49,515.
That's the rollback.
That's at the rollback
Well,
rate.
no, I guess what I'm saying is, so we approved our spending budget for the year. So how
Yes.
much would we be using out of our monies? Like, where's the way I understood it in a previous discussion when we actually set the budget, that we would, you know, because we did give pay increases and we did have expenses. We've got the parks that we're going to be putting money into. If we didn't use monies out of our general fund or fund equity, like where would we, like, would we be pulling money out to operate this budget?
We would be pulling it out of fund equity.
Out of fund equity. So how much, if we did the full rollback rate based off our approved spending budget, how much do we have to make up if we did the full rollback?
Probably, I don't know. I would have to do some calculating. I know that our fund balance, our fund equity right now,
I
think-
think the answer to your question is that at full rollback rate, if you'll look at the top, well, that sheet, this particular slide right here, it says budget 26 tax revenues. That's what we're currently using out of our property taxes, that $5,428,093.
Yep.
So that's what we're currently using in the budget.
That's
And
what's
if you'll look
budgeted.
down, the taxes levied at the rollback rate are $5,477,608, which is a difference of $49,000. So at the rollback rate, we've got a $49,000 cushion. Okay, now,
But I think what he was also asking was how much fund equity is in the current budget.
okay, in the current budget, and y'all don't have this slide, and it's my fault. But this is the property taxes, and this is where
fund balance.
fund balance currently is at $12,236,217. Okay? Some of that is identified as that ARPA money, that $1 million of ARPA money that we've got set aside.
There's ARPA money in there. There's also K-9 donations, which is not,
It's earmarked.
it's earmarked for K-9 donations. Tree Board, I think, has like $14,000, something like that. Also, we have some money earmarked for the HPC, which is like $1,400, I think. It's not, those are the only designated like funds, but the big one, of course, is the $1 million from the ARPA that's designated for the building, specific for the building. But that number is, that was good at the end of last year's. I've talked to the auditors, they're wrapping up our audit for 2025, and the way it looks right now is we're going to remain flat. We're probably not going to contribute much of anything to fund equity this year. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we had to dip into it just slightly. But we're looking at flat, basically, is what barring nothing comes up unforeseen that I'm not aware of after the final audit is done, but they're pretty much fixing to put a bow on this thing, so.
And so our average monthly spend is, to operate the city, is around 1.8, 1.9 million, is that?
I think that is correct. I've got that information.
And so taking out the million of the ARPA fund, that leaves us just around between 5 and 6 months of operating expenses.
1 month of operating expense is 1.8.
So. Any other comments here? So I'll open it up. Open up the. Yes, sir.
May I make one more comment and just clarity? Regardless of the direction that we're given, we will advertise in the paper our 5-year history, just like you've been seeing in the paper for the other municipalities, and the wording will basically be the same because we're driven by the state of Georgia on how that wording needs to be. If we do anything other than the taking the rollback rate, we will have 3 workshops. And we'll take direction from there. But I wanted to there's going to be other times. You're not voting on it tonight.
Right.
It will be hopefully on October 20th. That's all I had to say.
Okay, so podium is open if anyone wants to speak to this issue. I don't think the microphone's on, Mr. White. There you go.
Now it is.
I think he's used it.
Larry White, 102 Sylvia's Court. Have we taken into consideration the inflation rate for this upcoming year? Have we based any historical basis on the inflation rate that the country has experienced in the last several years as to how do we really want to roll back the tax basis and not take in consideration what the country's done in the last few years? The question I have.
Thank you, sir. All right. Anyone else? Okay. We'll close this workshop. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. What?
Where we going?
Where we going?
Dinner if we hurry up with the meeting tonight. No, I'm kidding. I guess they want direction of.
No direction. Well, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, how does everyone?
I think I'd like to think about it a little bit and look at the numbers
Well,
and consider.
Would you prefer us go ahead and plan on having the public hearings with tentative going with the current rate?
that gives us time to think, so we wouldn't vote until the 20th. We have to have 3 hearings to get the numbers
Yeah,
in front of us.
we could go ahead and do that.
Actually, what I have to work with, those public hearings are driven by the state as well. And it has to be if we advertise for the millage rate that was last year, that's going to be seen as, of course, as an increase. Okay, I have to advertise it in the paper that the city is tentatively adopting or going to adopt a rate that would be a tax increase, and I put the percentage in there. I can't get that in the paper until the 16th because I've passed. Today is the drop dead date for the paper. I can get it in there on the 16th. It has to be advertised 1 week before the first public hearing. The first public hearing that we could have would be on October the 23rd. by law, we have to have one at 10 o'clock in the morning. And we have to have three. One has to be at 10 o'clock in the morning, one at another time, which we usually do it at 5 o'clock, do those on the same day. And then have another one at 6 o'clock. That's what the state law says. And usually what we do is have it on 6 o'clock on the date of the council meeting where it's going to be adopted. So we're looking at a time frame here of the first public hearing can't be until the 23rd.
So it'll be November.
We could have another one on the 28th, a third one on the 28th, and actually have a special call council meeting that same night. And or you could have it either on the 27th, actually, have a special call council meeting that night and adopt it on that night. And then we could get bills out, start processing bills. But I've got to have that 1 week in between
Yep.
the advertisement and that first hearing. And we need a quorum, Ms. Deborah, we do need a quorum for those hearings, right? And this is a public hearing, a time when the public is invited to come in and speak. So that's the time frame we're looking at. And I've got, if y'all want me to go ahead and do those advertisements, I can process that. And then even if y'all decide not to go with that rate, you can go with the rollback rate. But, I mean, if you tell me we're going with the rollback rate tonight, we won't have to have these public hearings.
I would be comfortable saying we should schedule the hearings and just say we're going to keep the millage rate the same for now, and that gives us time to review more numbers to make sure it's the right decision to make versus, cutting ourselves short when we shouldn't, because I have kind of tentatively gone over a lot of it, and I know we did do the rollback rate last year, and we did have a lot of increased expenses, and things do cost a little bit more, so we want to be sensitive to the taxpayer, but also make sure that we're keeping the city afloat as well. So I would say to try to pencil in the current millage rate, and we will have our first hearing.
Right. Then we have a chance to think about how much we might be willing to dip into fund equity. I mean, we don't want that money just sitting there
Correct. We
doing
want it to be
nothing.
Put to work.
Yeah. So,
You're absolutely certain we can't get in tomorrow morning to the,
I thought it was
It's Friday.
Tuesday.
It's on Mondays,
okay.
Monday by noon.
Deborah, you're smiling over there. Do you
I
think we can
think
get
it's
in the morning?
Tuesday.
I could ask for a favor.
So if we can ask for a favor, we'll move it up.
Yeah,
just,
let's.
That's fine. Then
I
we
just,
could actually,
I'm looking at my calendar and I'm supposed to be in Orlando on the 23rd.
If we
And I
can-
could leave and
if
get
we
back
can
in
get
time
it in
for a meeting
third-
that night if I had to, but
if we can get it in Thursday's paper, which would be the 9th, then we could actually have our first public hearings starting on the 16th. And we could have knockout and then vote, no,
yeah, the 20th
no,
would
you
be.
don't have to
second
have.
meeting.
Yeah. We could do it on the 20th.
And that would be a special called meeting to vote on it
No, the
after.
That's our
20th
regular
the
meeting.
20th
Is your
would
actual
not.
count? I'm sorry.
Oh,
The
sorry.
20th is your actual council meeting. What we could do is we could just pull 30 minutes prior, start the meeting at 6:30 or.
5:30.
Okay.
So
No, we
No,
have
it
to
has-
have that.
This one has to be at 6.
At 6
Well, we
o'clock.
may be able
Okay.
to juggle. We may be able to put one of the
Could put the
6
first one
PM,
at, could we put the first one at 6:30 or
6.
6?
We can do one in the morning, then do one at 6, and then we can do on the night of the meeting, do at 5, and then we can vote, y'all can vote on the 20th.
Well, let's cross our fingers and hope we can get a favor.
if you're asking a favor of the editor, just compliment the South Carolina Gamecocks and.
On the-
Marcia, can you have that ready today, though? before you
I
leave,
will,
we can
I
start
will
tomorrow.
move myself back in my office and I will I'll do it, yeah. So what I'm gonna propose then is then on the 16th, we would have two meetings, one at 10 o'clock in the morning and one at 6 o'clock. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then,
5
on the
o'clock.
20th, we would
Okay.
have another one at 5. Is that
Okay.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And if we can't get it in,
Again, and we'll go back to Plan B.
Yeah. No negative vibes. We'll fall back and regroup.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll see what we can do.
We clear as mud?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we're good.
Workshop is adjourned.